Hello, everyone, and welcome to the HR Huddle. It's Monday, May 6th, and I'm very excited to be here today. Tamara and Jen are off doing other things. Actually, Tamara's at the BDO conference in Vegas, and so I volunteered to do the HR Huddle today. My name is Renee Moelders. I'm a partner with Convergence Coaching, and I'm very excited to have a special guest today. Erin Hartman is with us from the AICPA. And so she's going to talk in just a second about some things. And we have a special plan that we want to discuss with you today. But happy early May and first Monday of May. Can you believe it? And I know we are sort of shifting gears inside of accounting firms right now as HR leaders. You are probably maybe up to your eyeballs with internal projects and innovations, and your internal audiences are waking up and saying, let's work on the performance evaluation program. Let's look at, our people and assess our people. There's all kinds of initiatives that they're interested in doing now that they aren't in busy season anymore. So probably HR leaders, you are in your own busy season. And so interestingly, Erin and I are going to talk about some resources and tools that the AICPA has that might help you with some of those initiatives. And specifically some tools today we wanted to talk about that I've been working on with Erin and Jen Wilson over the last year to build out some tool sets. And so, but before we go there, Erin, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and tell people your title and what your focus is. And then also talk about this business model transformation that you've been involved with for the last year or so.
Sure. Thank you, Renee. First of all, thank you so much for having me on your HR Huddle. I'm excited to be here. I've enjoyed working with you guys over the past year or two, and it's good to kind of bring this together and talk about some of the things that we're doing. So I am a manager with our PCPS team, and that stands for Private Companies Practice Section. I know that's a mouthful, but it basically means that we support firms in that deal with clients in the private sector, meaning not publicly traded companies. So we support firms in all areas, developing strategies for the future and also everyday intricacies of running their practice. We have large firms, we have small firms, but we have more smaller firms. Like to think we're like the infrastructure for smaller firms that don't have the time, don't have the resources to put towards so many practice management initiatives that are important, but that they're not really able to do as smaller firms. So that's kind of who we cater to.
Okay.
And to talk about this transforming your business model project a little bit, we have been working on this project for a little over a year, and it's called Transforming Your Business Model. And it came about really as an answer to all the changes in the profession. As we all know, there are less people entering the profession, less people entering college, people retiring. We've been dealing with a talent shortage for a while. And instead of like dealing with the challenges, we do like to think of like, okay, so what are the opportunities here? And we really do believe that this is a time for firms to really make changes. And some of the challenges that they're dealing with are the perfect time to do things differently, to discuss hours, to discuss billing methods. And all of this is related to culture in firms and recruiting and retention. So that's really how the project came about and what we try to focus on when we think about what our next resources are going to be.
Great. Yes. Well, and you approached us last year, Erin, to work on two particular tool sets that you and I are going to kind of delve into here and talk a little bit about. And the first one was an employee compensation tool set. And so, I have some thoughts on this, but I'm curious for you, what kinds of questions are you getting from members? Why did the need, you think, come up for a compensation tool set?
It's interesting, Renee, because I think, first of all, we asked you to help us put together some employee compensation tools. And I think when we asked for it, we weren't really sure what we were looking for, but we knew it was an issue with firms as far as like figuring out, okay, are we paying people what they should be paid? What's fair in the profession and compared to other similar professions. So what I love about this tool is it helps firms really look at whether or not they're paying at or above market, hopefully. And then not only that, but it helps them level set, meaning look at all their employees and evaluate them across the firm and see how people are being compensated based on service, based on value, and really look at everybody in one place and be able to evaluate them.
Yeah, and what we did was, by the way, for folks on the line who haven't seen it yet, it's an Excel grid, and it has some instructions at the very front. And then the grid kind of walks you through, first of all, like different sources that you can use out there in the market as benchmarks, because that's one question we get asked from firms. What am I benchmarking to? What kind of salary should I be paying? How am I supposed to know what market is? And so we walk them through some of those benchmarks. Some of those are free, by the way, that we mentioned in the grid, and some of those benchmarks are paid benchmarks that you can get access to. And then we also mentioned some other qualitative things, places that firms can look for benchmarking. So for instance, as you're recruiting, if you're having to pay, $5,000 more for a senior and you've done that 3 times, it probably needs to go in your grid, and you need to say, all right, this is our new target for our seniors, and we're going to have to probably adjust our existing people to hit that target now. The number has changed. So we walk people through those benchmarks, and then we have a grid where you lay out all your people, as Erin's talking about, and you can lay them out by level, you can lay them out by department, depending on how big your firm is. So it really is a tool that can be adapted for a teeny tiny firm, place all your people into one grid, or if you're a larger organization, you can copy that page, that sheet, and have one per department or per level, so that you can compare and contrast where are my people and how do they compare to each other. And then we built a host of other tools that are around that, some articles and some other interesting data points, for us to consider related to compensation.
Yeah, I would love to just point out that I really love the spreadsheet that you're referring to. Yes, it gives you examples of like places that you can look to find pay information. You can also put in information that you always use, like based on where you live, or sources that you found to be true in the past. And then it takes an average of them, and you can look at the upper quartile, the lower quartile, the average. You can really do so many things with it. And then one of the tools that you can use with this, as far as like to rate your people, is this 9-box tool that you guys did for us, Renee. And I talk about this tool constantly. And and then I'll say, you don't have to use the whole toolkit. You can use pieces of it based on what you need. But this 9-box tool really helps you to figure out how your people rank. Like, you might have a top performer who's gonna, set the woods on fire no matter what she's doing, and is just going to continue to grow and develop in any situation in your firm. You might also have people that you need to figure out how to exit out of your firm to something else. But then you've also got the people in the middle that are just really good, solid players, and figuring out how to utilize all those people to the best of their abilities, I think is huge. And just the descriptions that go along with that 9-box tool, I think are very helpful. And like I said, can be used with the spreadsheet and can just be used in general when you're thinking about people in your firm.
Yeah, and there's an article that goes along with the 9-box. So for firms who aren't familiar with that tool, that's an analytical tool that was created many years ago by, I believe, McKinsey, and it's been adapted in all different kinds of business analysis. And in this case, you're using it to analyze your team. So you're really taking your players, your bench, your talent bench, and you're laying them out on this grid. And it does take a little bit of orienting as a firm, because you aren't necessarily, like maybe if you and I were doing it, Erin, you might be a high rater and I might be a really tough rater. And so you have to figure out, agree on some of those ground rules. And we talk you through that in the article. And then you sit around with your team and place your folks on that grid. And it is very interesting to see sometimes Well, first of all, one of the things we find is for your high performers, so those folks in the top 3 grids, if it's a 9 box, so it's 3 by 3. And so the folks in the very top right-hand corner, and then the 2 next to them, and maybe that core employee, so maybe those 4 boxes, one of the first things we always ask firms whenever we look at the 9 box is, who are those people's coaches? Because if those are your high performers, the first most important thing you can do is make sure they're being coached by your high performing coaches. And Erin, I promise you, a few times firms have looked at that and said, oh, wow, I've got somebody way down here in the bottom of the grid. So a low performer or an average performer coaching my high performing people. And that's such a quick and easy fix to make that switch in assignments. And we didn't have to spend any more money. We didn't have to do a whole lot different. And now we're investing differently in those high performers.
Right. I think you see a lot of things just putting it on paper that, maybe are obvious, but without laying it all out there, you don't. I do think another thing that, firms should, and this helps you focus on is, it says a lot to your high performers when you are continuing to give raises, give raises to low performers. So really looking at that and thinking about what message you want to send. I think it's helpful for that as well.
It is. And it's hard too. I know the firms feel like that's like a conflict conversation, and isn't it easier, Renee and Erin, just to pay everyone at a certain level the same? And, we would both counsel, because it does send discouraging messages to those people who are working harder or contributing more or producing better deliverables, making more progress. So we do want you to have differentiation. And that's really covered. That's in the article, 10 steps to ensure your salaries are competitive. And then also it's covered in this whole idea in the grid, back to that Excel grid, of placing your people into categories, like really forcing yourself to compare these people to one another. If someone's doing better, they probably should be compensated more or earn a better bonus or something like that. And so,
right. And then it gives you a great HR file because you've got it on a spreadsheet. You've got it like documented. So, when a year from now, you're wondering why you did what you did, you can see your notes. You can see how everybody ranked. And I think it's, it's just a good document to keep up with.
Totally. Yes. I love it. So I put the link in the chat to that tool set for those of you who are PCPS members. You can go check that out. If you're not PCPS members, Erin's going to touch on that in just a minute here on what that looks like. But before we do that, I wanted to quickly mention the other tool set. We don't have a ton of time to talk about it, Erin, but that's the non-CPA workstream tool set. And so that's, like customer service representatives. There's also some other ideas in there about just bringing non-CPAs and non-accountants into the profession and elevating them and giving them more important roles inside of service delivery in our firms. And so I think I know what was the genesis of this one, and that's the talent pipeline. But I don't know if you have any other thoughts on why you thought this one was important to be created.
I think that's true. But then I also think in general, I know I'm talking to firms more and more that are bringing in these types of administrative roles and trying to find the right place for them, doing a lot of client facing service, but also, you might bring them in and know what you want them to do. But okay, like this isn't just a fix for the talent shortage. This person's remarkable. They might not be a CPA, but they're remarkable and integral to like my practice. So how do I grow and develop them? And how do I give them a career path? So I think really met with several groups since this tax season. And I do feel like more and more people are bringing in or trying to bring in this type of role. So I think that's been very helpful with not only onboarding them, but also giving them like a future in the firm and helping the firm figure that out.
Yeah, and we have a little map in there that is career paths and how to think about that and what the levels might look like. And also we have information in the tool set about how to find these people, like where might you look for them and what kind of skills or abilities you might want them to have. This isn't the traditional administrative employee like we've done in the past. So we want firms to be thinking differently about that. And so we've incorporated some of those ideas in the tool set. And really the crown jewel, by the way, of that tool set is Jen Wilson's recording from the Engage conference last year. And I've been sending that out to people, Erin, because I'll say to them, they are asking me about this idea of customer service reps. And I say, did you go to Engage last year? And they say no. And I'm like, oh, shoot, they can't get access to Jen's session. And then I'm like, yes, they can. It's in the tool set. So that's really awesome because that's, it's a long session. So sorry, it's not like our other videos that are quick and easy, but it is comprehensive conversation about how to build a program like this.
It is. It's engaging and it goes by quickly. I mean, I remember watching it just for the sake of doing this toolkit, but I got wrapped into it and it was great. So it was fun to watch and helpful.
Yeah. Walks you through all the pitfalls and all the concerns and some of those pitfalls are internally in the firm, objections that people are going to face, and then some of them are externally with clients. So she gives you some really good ideas on that. So Erin, I know we just have a little bit more time here. And so you wanted to talk a little bit more about, first of all, I feel like these tools, PCPS in general, are like a secret. People don't know about them. And I mention them to firms and they're like, I've never heard of that. And I say, go see if you are already a member. Oftentimes firms are. But maybe the HR person doesn't know about that. And so has to get a login to get in there, not a big deal. But they just didn't know. And so first of all, I would say to folks on the line, if you don't know if you're a member, go find out, ask around in the firm to see if we have a membership already to PCPS.
And you can reach out to us as well. We have people contacting us to see if they're members because it is a firm membership. So once a firm is a member, everyone has access. So that's a good point. It's the annual fee is based on number of CPAs, but everyone in the firm then has access to these resources.
Okay. So, and that email address is?
That email address is pcps@aicpa.org.
Okay. And then I think you also wanted to talk about what are some of the other benefits of?
Yeah, I just will talk quickly about our benefits. Like we've talked about, we do have these business model resources. We have other resources as well. We have mental health resources. We have a lot of benchmarking data from surveys we do, articles and podcasts. There are discounts available for professional liability insurance and some conferences like Engage if you have PCPS membership. But I did just want to also mention our networking groups that we have that are based on firm size. We have small, medium, and large networking groups. And they really are just that, like groups of practitioners that otherwise wouldn't know each other, that meet twice a year, share best practices, share pain points, determine what speakers they'd want to see and hear from, and really plan their own meetings. But some of these groups have been together for 10, 20 years, and to hear them talk about how important this is to their practice is just incredible. So like I said, we have all firm sizes. I do think our small firm sizes are probably like the most helpful to, especially like a sole practitioner or someone with just a couple CPAs, because, normally if you need to bounce an idea off of somebody, it's going to be somebody in your hometown who's probably your competition. So just having such a large group of people to connect with, who may have done the thing that you want to do before, and you can learn from them and learn from each other. They're just a really good resource. So again, if you want more information on the networking groups or any of these resources, it's pcps@aicpa.org.
And I put that in the chat for our listeners, so they'll be able to see that down below this video. And those networking groups aren't just for small firms. I mean, I hear you that maybe the small firms, it's super important to them, but I know some folks, in medium size firms up to 100, 200 firms who are in 100, 200 employees, who are in these networking groups and really find that very valuable, and leveraging those relationships is important. And oftentimes they're doing that throughout the year. So they're emailing each other and checking in with each other and calling each other. So it is a pretty cool resource, and to have some people to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah, we were talking about the rate of return on because they do pay for the meetings, their cost to get to wherever the location is, and if they're speakers and, the whole venue. But they said, it's the rate of return is priceless. And we had a couple just a while ago just saying, I don't know that I would still be in business if it wasn't for this group, like through everything we've been through, because they trust each other. They confide in each other, and it's just really wonderful to see it.
Yeah, and those are mostly for managing partners, Erin, is that right?
They are. They don't have to be, but they are mostly.
Yeah. So kind of a lonely job sometimes. You're the only managing partner in your firm. So now you've got a community of managing partners to talk to.
Exactly. That's what I say. Sometimes I think, if for nothing else, misery loves company. It's great to know that you're not the only one dealing with whatever you're dealing with.
That's right. Yes. Well, Erin, thank you so much for coming today. And so we hope folks will go out and check out these 2 tool sets that we worked on together. I also hope that folks will go check out what else is out there on the site. And if you're looking for a particular tool or wondering, you might be sitting there thinking, surely someone has built this job description before, or surely someone has created a policy for this. You may want to email pcps@aicpa.org and ask, because if you can't find the tools out there on the website, it's possible they may already be there. So Erin, thanks for coming and getting the cat out of the bag here, telling people about all these wonderful tools that are out there and available. And we appreciate your time and your edification on this particular idea today.
Oh yeah. Thank you. And like I've told you before, this is great because we do, the resources that you guys have recently worked on for us, the employee compensation tools and the non-CPA workstream tools they're great. So the more people that are able to use them, the better for the profession.
Awesome. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you next week.